So there's a very important piece of news that might have gone under the radar, and so it looks like there's a bipartisan group of lawmakers that are looking to ban TikTok, and that's what we're going to dive into in this video. So guys, as you smash that like button, let me run the intro. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And let's dive right into this one, because this one I think has gone under the radar a little bit. There's not a lot of people talking about this, as there's just been a lot of other news as of late. And so you can see here that there is a bipartisan bill that was just released that's aimed to ban TikTok in the United States. And so once again, it was bipartisan, which is kind of crazy, but it comes years after broad concern across both the Trump and Biden administration about potential Chinese government influence on the country. I don't know why it says country. Oh, I guess they were saying company as in ByteDance. That makes sense. Now, TikTok has insisted that user data is safely stored outside of China, which it says should keep it out of reach of government officials. And as Alibaba owners, we know that the revenue from customers in the internet industry did decline 18% year over year, which was driven mainly by declining revenue from a top internet customer that has gradually stopped using their overseas cloud services. And we know exactly who that customer is. We know that that's ByteDance. And so as Alibaba owners know, we know that they're no longer using cloud services, at least domiciled in China. And so they're not lying when they say that they've moved their services away from China. But just going back into the bill here, notice it's saying that the new bill from the bipartisan group of lawmakers, if passed, would ban TikTok in the US after years of broad concern by the Trump and Biden administrations about potential Chinese government influence on the company, of course, the company being ByteDance. And so, of course, Meta and Snap were up on the news. And of course, this is because of the fact that people are worried and lawmakers are worried that, you know, the Chinese government could compel the company to hand over information. But I think what people are really worried about is TikTok sort of like influencing the US population. But I haven't really seen a lot of evidence as to TikTok influencing the US users of TikTok in any way that sort of like other social media platforms aren't. Like TikTok's algorithm really is just based just on showing you what they believe is likely to trend. And I think that's what a social media algorithm should be doing. I know that's what YouTube does, and that's what Meta is trying to do more of. So it doesn't look like there's anything sort of bad happening right now, but you know, there are arguments being made by people who are probably smarter than I am. They're saying that it could be abused. Now, just going into the act, so the act is called the Anti-Social CCP Act, which stands for Averting the National Threat of Internet Surveillance, Oppressive Censorship, and Influence and Algorithmic Learning by the Chinese Communist Party. So it almost is so broad that it just sounds like not doing business with any social media company that's not domiciled in the US. That's pretty much what that is saying. And so it does explicitly name ByteDance, which is the owner of TikTok, and wants to make them subject to the restrictions in the bill. Now, ByteDance actually replied, and they said that it's troubling that rather than encouraging the administration to conclude its national security review of TikTok, some members of Congress have decided to push for a politically motivated ban that would do nothing to advance the national security of the United States. And so real shots fired by TikTok from this perspective. Now, some people are arguing that this should be a surge for Meta's share price, at least because Meta is hot on the heels of TikTok with their Reels, and Reels are getting used more and more, and they're starting to get monetized more and more. So of course, it would make sense that if TikTok goes away, Meta should presumably be more valued. But I just want to show you what happened to Meta stock. So you can see here that although there may have been a small jump in the share price, Meta shares really haven't moved at all. And this will be a situation where investors will actually have to see the deal passed for it to impact the share price of Meta, in my opinion. So this could be an entry point for people looking for a short-term gain, but I do have a long-term thesis for you. And here's that thesis. The company, in their latest quarterly press release or their earnings conference call, they actually noted there are three primary areas where they're going to be focusing on their CapEx spending. And the first is going to be their AI discovery engine that's powering the Reels. And you can see, as they say later on, that Reels is growing in terms of usage. and the other recommendation services. The other area where they're going to be spending on is their ads and business messaging platforms, and I'll dive into that a little bit more. But there's a whole new undiscovered revenue stream, or just like a revenue stream in its infancy as it relates to the messaging platforms. And the one area that everyone's well aware of, the future vision for the metaverse. And so the point that I do want to make here is that everyone is seeing the current surge in the CapEx, but just note exactly what that surge is. It's largely due to building out their AI infrastructure as it would relate to the first two items. And so, yes, there's still going to be a lot of CapEx being spent for the metaverse, but just note that there's also a lot of CapEx right now being spent for the first two items, which I think are going to continue to increase revenue over the medium to long term. And now let's just dive into that a little bit. So as it relates to their AI discovering engine, which is becoming a more and more important part of the business, effectively what they're saying is that there's now approximately 140 billion reels that play across Facebook and Instagram, and that actually amounts to a 50% increase from just 6 months ago. And so they do believe that they're gaining on time spent share on competitors like TikTok. So I guess the point that I'm making here is that you do not need a ban on TikTok for Meta to gain on them, because once again, I just believe that anybody who has a TikTok account also has an Instagram account. And so if reels are already on Instagram, you don't necessarily need to jump on TikTok. I understand people are going to still be using TikTok, but I'm just saying that if Instagram is as competitive as TikTok and you can see the reels there, they're not going to lose substantially. Plus, there's a whole bunch of people who signed up for Facebook when it originally started, and they have Instagram, but they're not going to be downloading TikTok. And that's people who are probably 30 and older. I think TikTok is really for a generation that's under even the 30-year-olds right now, like the Gen Zs, which are probably around 22 and younger. And so everyone above them, which is probably the substantial amount of people that use Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, are older. And so the fact that they're now also using reels, they could potentially make up the bulk of the users of these short form video content. And so the one area that people will mention right now is that reels does not monetize at the rate that the feed or stories does yet. So there is a headwind. However, note, guys, that they expect to get a more neutral pace over the next 10 or even like 12 to 18 months. And so they did have Instagram Reels cross $1 billion in annual revenue run rate, and they have visibility for parity. And so that's important. But this is the other part that I wanted to talk about, the messaging part. And so this is sort of like the item that I said was in its infancy. And so what they did is they started the click to messaging ads, which lets businesses run ads on Facebook and Instagram that start a thread on Messenger, WhatsApp, or Instagram Direct. So if you click into the ad, you can start communicating, or if your customer clicks into the ad or the person being advertised to, you can start communicating with them directly. And I think that's very important in terms of closing an opportunity. And you guys already know, I've talked about this on the channel many times before. There's certain types of advertising which is brand building, and there's certain types of advertising which is directly related to conversion. One of the reasons why Google was so powerful is because Google leads to a closer level of a conversion than, like a TV commercial spot would. But I think Reels and using that messenger service, so you're directly talking to the vendor, is a much stronger way to lead to that conversion. And so I still believe that Meta, through Instagram and this messaging service, remains number one, the best way to convert customers off just like an advertising initiative. And so they go in here saying that paid messenger is another opportunity where they're starting to tap into, and it continues to grow quickly, but of course from a smaller base. And so they're putting a foundation into place right now to scale it using partnerships like Salesforce. Now, the integration into Salesforce would be really cool, because then it really allows the whole business to use the WhatsApp platform to talk to customers. And I think that's very important, because then it just allows you to track sort of where you're at with every customer, and it's just a lot easier to sort of integrate it in the company, and you're not relying on one person or, you know, even one department. It could be multiple departments all coming in together. So I think there's a lot of versatility in that, and I like that they're doing that. And so between the click to messaging and paid messaging, I also agree with Zuckerberg that I think there's a lot of opportunity here. I see it, and I just see it from the fact that this type of advertising is much more important. I will absolutely be a user of this type of advertising in the future when I have products that I'm looking to convert, and or at least looking to speak with the potential customer. And so I think this is very important. And just to give you an idea of how powerful this stuff is, one time I was looking to sell a comedy show. I probably have told you guys that I've done stand-up comedy in the past. I was trying to sell out a theater, and you know, I had 800 tickets to sell. It was my own show. And what I ended up doing is I ended up going on Facebook and just advertising to people that had a birthday in that particular month where the show was happening. And I said, hey, this might be a great way to start off your night. The show starts at 8, it's done by 9:30. Then you guys can go out and do something afterwards. And I thought it was a really compelling offering, and I ended up selling out. There was 2 shows, 400 seats each. I ended up selling out the first one, and then I think we did around 200 seats for the second show. Now, I do want to show you guys a model for Meta, but before I get into the model, I just want to remind you guys that approximately 80% of the watch time on this channel is from people that are not subscribed. So if you have the opportunity, please hit that subscribe button. Now let's just dive right into the Meta model, because I just want to show you guys how I'm valuing this company out right now. And so, you know, I might be a little bit pessimistic in the revenue growth for fiscal year 2023, but I might also be a little bit optimistic when I say that revenue is going to grow at a rate of 12.5% in 2024 and 2025. Now, I know there's people who believe that revenue is going to continue to grow faster than this, but I also believe that there's a lot of people who think that revenue will grow slower than this. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think, but let's dive right into their valuation. So you can see here that I'm using a multiple of 17.5 times earnings, which might be a little bit low. It probably should be around a 22 times multiple, but you guys let me know what valuation multiple makes sense for you. Long-term discount rate of 11.5%. So my valuation is around $160 per share for the company. Add in that excess capital or excess cash per share that they have, gives you around $175, $200 per share valuation. I think most people are arriving at around that $150 to $200 per share valuation for Meta. You compare that to the current share price, and you have a bit of a compelling opportunity. However, I'm very picky with Meta because I do see some visibility risks, at least around the horizon, and so I want this company under $100 per share. Now recall, guys, I have purchased Meta higher than $100 per share in the past before, but I'm just getting a little bit pickier now in this environment, and especially because digital advertising has been hit so much. I understand that this is short term, and over the long term it'll go away, but once again, it's reflecting how, as an investor, if you've been watching this channel over the last 2 years, I've become more and more picky on the types of opportunities that I'm investing in. And that might be one of the reasons why I didn't lose money this year in 2022, but it might also be one of the reasons why when the market surges, I might not be in certain positions that I see a value in, but I don't see an entry price in, and so I don't surge back up with them. But that's okay. I'm just trying not to make a mistake here. And so what I'm going to do in a subsequent video is I'm going to talk about the entry points for Meta by looking at some of the options opportunities. And so for you guys to not miss out on that video, once again, hit that subscribe button. Now, the other thing is, it looks like there might have been an uncovering of a potential Ponzi scheme going on in the real estate sector in China. And I actually made a video on that and I released it yesterday. And so if you guys want to get access to that video, click right here.